The captains involved in these mishaps may have been experts, but couldn't avert these accidents. Here are the 15 biggest ship collisions and mistakes caught on camera. I've noticed that many of you watching here aren't subscribed yet, so if you do like the video, please consider hitting that subscribe button and ticking that little bell. It's absolutely free and you could always change your mind later. And with that said, enjoy the video. Number 15. TOLUNAY boat carrier. Turkish Coast Guards would never forget what happened to them in 2017. This massive ship called the TOLUNAY crashed into a small Turkish Coast Guard boat directly in front of it. It's unclear if this was a deliberate act, or if the pilot didn't see it given how small it was. When bumped into the ship, it capsized almost immediately. The most painful part of it all is how TOLUNAY moved on as if nothing happened. Of course, there was serious harm on its body, given it had all the force to take down its opponent. Therefore, it was only wise to pretend nothing happened. Number 14. Cargo Sea Grand. I wonder why a captain would want to drink and drive, despite this action being unjustifiable. Some of them still do it. In this clip, you can see how this ship moves straight to a bridge and collides with it. You can see that it happened out of carelessness and not a simple mistake. This clash damaged the vessel and the bridge. Road users were forced to stop and take alternative routes because parts of the bridge were damaged. No one was injured in the accident, but the captain was probably cautioned to be more careful next time. Number 13. Japanese patrol boats. You know how there are strict laws in many countries banning illegal fishing? This Hong Kong boat operator probably didn't get the Japanese memo and wanted to try their luck at sea. Unfortunately, they ran out of luck as the Japanese authorities caught them. They tried to run but weren't fast enough. The two patrol boats closed in on them and surrounded them almost immediately. You won't beige what happened next. The illegal fishing boat was stuck in between two mighty vessels, and there was no way out of it. Too bad, the illegal fishers were apprehended. Number 12. Vita Spirit. This 740-foot ship caused a disaster that remains evergreen in the hearts of many. While the passengers in a small boat were filming their experience in the water, they captured something unimaginable. As this huge ship cruised in the water, it suddenly lost control and was heading towards a historic mansion beside the water. The house was worth millions of dollars. The ship was carrying barley from Russia to Saudi Arabia. Without minding what would become of its owner, the vessel ran into it, causing parts of the building to collapse and the roof destroyed. It's cool to have a house around the coast, but expect accidents like this one. Number 11. Stellar Banner. In 2020, the giant ship Stellar Banner developed a fault in the water, causing it to nearly capsize. Knowing the possibility of not resolving the fault fast enough, the crew evacuated so they could salvage the 3,500 tons of fuel oil and 275 tons of iron ore cargo. Unfortunately, the rescue efforts were a thing of the imagination and didn't hold water. The ship eventually collapsed in the water with all its contents. Thankfully, everyone was evacuated early enough. The sound from this ship is truly heartbreaking, and not one anybody wants to hear. Number 10. MSC Opera. The MSC Opera is a gigantic cruise ship that toured the waters. Unfortunately, it's not always rosy for captains as they experience some bad days at sea. On this fateful day, this ship collided with a smaller boat. When the crew saw that there was no hope, it began blaring its horns from afar. The passengers in the smaller boat had no choice but to jump out and run for their lives, knowing they didn't stand a chance to survive. Alas, they were right. The bigger ship crushed the smaller one, as you'll do to a crispy cracker. The effect of the accident was reduced thanks to the people who acted fast. Number 9. CSL Virginia and ULYSSE. In 2007, the ULYSSE ship hit the CAL Virginia in the water, causing a huge loss amounting to millions of dollars. The accident released thick crude oil that washed out along neighboring beaches to the dismay of environmentalists. This accident happened thanks to the watcher for ULYSSE, who was talking on the phone. He didn't notice that the other vessel was anchored in an unusual spot until it was too late. The ferry's rider had even detected the unusual scene more than an hour before the incident, but the captain didn't pick up the signal. It took about 5 days to separate both ships. Number 8. Yogi. What would cause a trip in the water to go sour? What else, if not an accident? This Yogi yacht met its end after one of the engines failed. Yogi is a mega yacht that cost $39 million. This clip was taken from a helicopter. The vessel can be seen halfway into the sea as rescue operators are salvaging the crew members and passengers. One of the engines overheated, and there was a failure in one of the doors that let water in. This further worsened the situation and caused the second engine to fail and the boat to sink in 5 hours. The crew was rescued unharmed, except that the temperatures were freezing at the time. Number 7. Bulk carrier and cargo ship. This video clip shows 2 cargo vessels battling for supremacy at sea. But why? We may never know. Both vessels were too close together, making a crash imminent. The smaller ship is blindly moving forward while the bigger one is blaring its horn as a warning for it not to get too close. Unfortunately, both vessels knew they were in trouble. The big one eventually hits the smaller one, thus making it one of the slowest hit maneuvers caught on camera. Although no one was injured in the clash, we can't help but assume that both ships would need some restructuring from the damage incurred after the collision. Number 6. Unprofessional crane operator. This footage was obtained from a surveillance camera at a port. Unlike what happened in most ship mistakes, it's not the operator that is to be blamed, but the crane operator. The operator wanted to put the new boat into the water gently, but the yacht slid out of the hold and fell into the water violently. The fall caused serious damage to the vessel. Had it not been insured, the owner would have been more devastated than he was. To this day, the boat owner is shocked as to how he put his expensive asset in the hands of a careless manager. If you ever purchase an expensive asset, ensure you hand it over to the right hands. Number 5. Japanese ship. In 2020, a 1,200-foot Japanese ship was trying to dock when another ship called Milano Bridge smashed into its side in Buston, Newport, one of the largest ports in South Korea. This caused one of the massive construction cranes on the dock to fall on the ship. While the Milano Bridge tried to maneuver around the dock, it hit another ship and further complicated the accident. This was one of the most memorable ship collisions of 2020 because it remains in the heart of many months after it happened. Number 4. Ferry in the Canary Island. This ferry was sailing peacefully in the Canary Islands until something strange happened. Suddenly, it lost electrical power, causing it to slam into a port wall on the island. That means that the captain lost control of his vessel, thereby placing the lives of the 140 humans on board at risk. This crash led to an oil leak that polluted the water. Even though everyone on board was safe, the port wall wasn't. Tides were low at the time of the accident, else the area would have been flooded. You can't help but be grateful on behalf of all passengers. Number 3. 2 stubborn oil tanker captains. Just as we have 2 adults fight for supremacy, you'll also have 2 oil tanker captains fight for more ownership of the water. In this case, it didn't go down well for both ships, and they were made to face the brunt of their crazy actions. This event happened in Singapore, when one of the vessels crashed into the other. At first, only the top fence was affected, but the nose joined in the disaster almost immediately. This collision created a substantial hole in the ship. Although there were no casualties, it's believed that the collision caused tens of millions of dollars in damage. Number 2. J-Class yachts. The J-Class yachts are one of the most expensive racing boats ever, but this doesn't mean they're not prone to errors. They're also considered the best in the world. Unfortunately, they're nothing without good drivers. During a racing challenge, 2 of these yachts collided with each other, causing one to veer off into the water. One of the boats ran into the other and used the other as a ramp that took the ship upwards. All passengers on board were okay, but the boats were damaged. They both had to leave the race because they were unfit. This mishap goes to show that an expensive boat without a good driver is only a recipe for disaster. Number 1. May's ship. This clip was taken in 2017 by 2 seamen who stood at the shore. The Matt's ship was moving blindly towards a bigger vessel, but didn't see the need to slow down. When the men saw that a crash was imminent, they began screaming for the captain to slow down or take an alternative route. It was too late for that, as the May ship already crashed into the bigger vessel. Both men went silent as they watched the nose of the smaller boat crumble. In similar situations, the small vessels often capsize due to the force of the crash. That didn't happen in this case because the crew members were lucky. There you have it. These are 15 of the most remarkable ship collisions and mistakes of all time. Please tell us what you think about them in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tick that little bell to stay tuned to our latest content. Until next time, adios.